So, about 3 years ago, my butt started trying to kill me. And that's how I found out I had sleep apnea. Now it kind of seems like CPAP might have fixed my butt. I don't know, man. Maybe it'll make sense by the end. So, I probably should have known that I had sleep apnea from the time that I hit puberty, because that's around the time that people started telling me that I sounded like a chainsaw with a busted carburetor when I snored. My dad was on CPAP from the time I was probably 12 or 13, so I didn't really have an excuse. I knew what it was. I knew the dangers. I knew the impacts on the heart, on the lungs. I knew the dangers of falling asleep in the middle of the day. I knew how much my dad changed when he was prescribed CPAP. I don't know why I ignored all of that. I did, though. By the time I hit college and started going on road trips with friends and things like that, I became a joke for my snoring. I became known for this horrific noise that came out of my mouth when I slept. And mind you, at the time I was like that big around. So I was a little guy. I was a skinny mini. And people would tell me, it is terrifying when you snore, but it's even more terrifying when you stop. That should have been a clue. It wasn't. My wife, when we first moved in together, was like, good Lord, man, that's terrible. And it became a joke. I was the guy who snored. The first time my friend and at the time editor Brent Butterworth went on a road trip together. Actually, we didn't go on a road trip. We went on a business trip to New York. Stayed at a hotel right across the street from Grand Central Station. I woke up after the first night and Brent was nowhere to be found. I looked around for him and couldn't find him. Opened the door to the closet. There he was. He had pulled the pillow off of his bed into the closet and curled up there to sleep because he could not tolerate my snoring. That should have been a clue. It wasn't. So anyway, the butt thing. About 3 years ago, I ended up in the emergency room with an abscess in my butt. They did a CT scan. It was the size of an almond. They said, we're going to give you like elephant antibiotics. You'll probably be fine. They gave me elephant antibiotics. I was back in the emergency room the next day. The abscess had grown from the size of a walnut to the size of a softball. They had to cut me open. And if you've never had an abscess, this is going to sound gross, but they cut a 6-inch deep hole in my body. They pulled out the infection and they left the wound open. And for 2 months, my wife had to pack that wound with iodine-soaked gauze. It was terrible. It was awful. And then 2 years later, it happened again. Not an abscess this time, but massive infection in the same area. They cut me open again. They drained me. They left the wound open again. It was then that I said, I got to figure this out. I can't keep living like this. Went to gastroenterologist. He did a colonoscopy. And as I was recovering from the colonoscopy, he said to me, the first thing he said was, Mr. Berger, you have horrific sleep apnea. By the way, your ileocecal valve looks like somebody beat the elephant man with the ugly stick. I'm going to let you guess which of those two stuck in my brain. Any mention of sleep apnea in one ear, out the other. Anyway, long story short, he did some biopsies. They were troubling but inconclusive, so I had a follow-up colonoscopy in December. In the recovery room, my gastroenterologist walks in. Mr. Berger, you have got to get your sleep apnea treated. Your life is in danger. Oh, by the way, I think you've got a massive tumor in your ileocecal valve. Again, I'm going to let you guess which of those two stuck in my brain. He calls me a month later to let me know that he is leaving the practice. He is going to do cancer research. And he wanted to tell me about the doctor who was taking over my case. Scheduled a CT scan. He was like, you'll see your new doctor in July. He was about to say goodbye when he asked me, Mr. Berger, by the way, did you ever get your sleep apnea taken care of? And I was like, oh, geez, no, I forgot about that. And that's when he said the words that changed my life. He said to me, I thought you were going to die on my table. Like, wait, what? Because I snore? Yeah. So I had a sleep study. Scheduled it really quickly. When he talked to my primary care physician, they decided it was urgent. I did a sleep study the next week. So the sleep tech told me, and I didn't know any of this. I thought you went in, they put you on a CPAP and went, yeah, that works. If you have really, really extreme sleep apnea, what they're supposed to do is called a split study. They let you sleep for 3 hours. They determine how bad your sleep apnea is. If you need a CPAP, they'll put you on one and do what's called a titration. He told me, we really won't do that unless we think your life is in danger. But if your life is in danger, I'll wake you up at 2 a.m. He woke me up after an hour of sleep and said he was literally watching me die. Put me in CPAP. I woke up the next morning. I walked out. Birds were chirping. I'm pretty sure one landed on my finger. It was like, it was as if I had been carrying around a 200-pound backpack for my entire life, and someone came up to me and said, hey, you don't have to wear that. You can take that off. I floated through the day. I was giddy. I was high. Naturally, just like, wow, this is what it feels like to be awake. And then I went to bed that night, and I woke up the next morning feeling like I had been hit by a succession of buses, followed by a train, followed by a dump truck, followed by a bulldozer, followed by a steamroller. I woke up feeling like I was going to die. That happened Monday morning as well. Someone called me Monday from the sleep clinic, said, Mr. Berger, come, you need a CPAP. You're gonna have to take a road trip to get it. We don't have any in your area, but you've gotta have this. Like, get on the road tomorrow, here's the office, come pick it up. And I did. I drove and I got it. And things were rough at first, man. It was really tough getting a mask to fit right. My air pressure wasn't right. It didn't work. My AHI was still between 30 and 50. 30 is the cutoff for severe. Like anything above 30, they're just like, yeah, you're gonna die. And yet I still felt immeasurably better. I felt like a different human being. I eventually got my therapy figured out. I found a mask that works. I found a pressure setting that works. My life has changed in ways that I never could have imagined. I have so much more energy. I am so incredibly awake now. I feel like I woke up from a 30-year nap. I didn't feel this good in my 20s. I did not feel this awake, this alive. It's incredible, but don't take my word for it. I asked some friends and family what they thought. Here they are. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I have a weird question for you.
Okay.
I know We don't see each other as much since you moved to East Jesus. But we do video chat every week and, we text every day. So I'm wondering, have you noticed any changes in me and my personality or anything since I started CPAP?
What I have noticed, and I'm sure you're gonna be like, you're gonna harumph about this, but I have noticed less Eeyore type emotions.
Thanks for noticing me.
So to me, I have seen more of the witty banter, silly,
Yeah.
and less of the woe is me, the world's going down, Chicken Little Eeyore, everyone's dying, let's just go home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Bubba. Do you think I've changed since I went on CPAP?
More happier.
Yeah?
More easygoing.
Cool. Thank you. Hey, Pop.
Hey,
So, have you noticed that I've changed since I started CPAP?
yep.
How?
Well, you're not as scratchy as you used to be, and you seem to be in a better mood all the time.
So I'm not as grouchy, huh?
Yeah, not
Still-
as scratchy.
Still grouchy, but not as grouchy.
That's right.
Hey, Mel.
Hey, Dennis.
So I have a weird question for you.
Okay.
Have you noticed that I'm different since I started CPAP?
Yeah, I think you are.
How?
I think you are a lot perkier. You have a lot more energy. And I might even call you jolly at times.
Really?
I know. Who would have thought?
Huh. Am I smarter?
Let's not go that far.
So, what have been the weirdest or most surprising things you've noticed?
You're almost a morning person.
That is rude.
Almost.
Rude.
There's no quiet time in the morning anymore.
Welcome to my entire life.
You have energy almost from the beginning, and you can use words when you get up.
Yeah, I've never been able to do that.
Not the entire time I've known you. Like the entire time we've been married, from the time you get up, it's been like silence for an hour.
Okay, let's stop talking about me and let's talk about you. What's been the
Me?
biggest benefit to your life of me being on CPAP?
Well, I think we're getting closer. We actually communicate to each other more. I don't mean just talk to each other more, but we communicate to each other more, and we take things from each other better.
And you get to benefit from my sparkling wit.
Your wit's always been there, but it's definitely been more so lately. You crack jokes a lot now.
Anything else?
I have more peace of mind. I have a lot more peace of mind because I'm not worrying about you. So I know you're going to be okay now, and I didn't know that before. And it just, I also know that you feel better, and that makes me happier.
So why didn't you make me do this sooner?
I did for years beg you to just go see a doctor in general, and you wouldn't even do that. So
I do what I want, woman.
you do what you want.
So there are the expected results from going on CPAP. There is the alertness, there's the energy, there's the lack of brain fog, there is chest pains that you didn't realize you had going away. There is a feeling that you can breathe now, all the time, not just when you're asleep, because you're not even aware of that. There's some really unexpected consequences as well. Side effects, benefits? Let's go with benefits. For the past 10 or 15 years, I have had horrific acid reflux. If I ate anything more interesting than buttered white toast, I was going to most likely wake up in the middle of the night choking on my own bile. That is gone. CPAP knocked that out like immediately. And I found out in a very interesting way. My wife and I ordered wings one night, and instead of getting honey barbecue, I accidentally got honey habanero barbecue. I took a bite and my face melted off my body. And it was just so delicious. I could not stop eating. And then I finished and I thought, oh no, I'm going to pay for this. I'm going to choke in my own vomit in the middle of the night. I didn't take a Tums. I didn't take anything. I went to bed. I never had acid reflux. That's gone. That's cured. That's weird, but it's amazing. That I know for certain. There are other things where there is a lack of certainty. There are questions that I may never get answers to, but I have to think they're related. This is difficult to talk about. For the past maybe 15 years, I've had these episodes where I wake up in the middle of the night in a panic. I don't know where I am. I don't know who I am. I have no clue who is lying next to me. I am paranoid. I'm terrified. And I lie there for most of the rest of the night in a frozen panic, unable to really figure out what the hell is going on. Who am I? Who are these people in bed with me? What is this strange place? A lot of times those episodes are accompanied by memory loss, which I don't really discover until later when someone brings up something in a topic of conversation and I just realize I have no recollection of what you're talking about. I lost my mom in 2006 to cancer. I don't remember her death. No recollection of it whatsoever. When I rewatched the movie of my life, she's there, then she's sick, and then she's missing. But I don't remember her death. I don't remember her funeral. And I don't know if I'll ever get that back. Two of my very best friends in the world, I don't remember meeting them. I know I met one of them playing kickball in an adult kickball league. I know she introduced me to the other. I don't even remember playing kickball. No memory of it whatsoever. I know I did. There are like cleats in the back of my car. There are athletic socks. There are kickball shorts. Like the evidence is all there. I played kickball. It's just no memory of it whatsoever. Again, I have no way to prove that any of that has anything to do with sleep apnea. But I cannot help but wonder. I will say this though, actuarially speaking, it should have happened by now this year. Not the memory loss necessarily, because I'm not always aware at the time of when that happens until someone mentions something later and I just have no recall for it. But the episodes where I wake up in a panic and I don't know who I am and I don't know where I am and I don't know what's going on and I'm paranoid and scared, and that should have happened by now and it hasn't. So maybe? On slightly firmer ground than that, like, I'm pretty sure this is true. I haven't proven it yet, but we're close to proving it. I met my new gastroenterologist in April. He saw the results of my CT scan and wanted to do another colonoscopy immediately. He saw in my notes that my previous GI thought that I had some form of inflammatory bowel disease, and my blood work supported that. I had inflammatory markers in my blood, all of the things they look for when you have an inflammatory disease, they're there. But he wanted to do a new colonoscopy. He wanted to see for himself. And he stuck the camera up my butt and said, dude, you got Crohn's disease. before we put you on treatment, probably Humira, something like that, let's do blood work again. I want to see how bad it's gotten. He did the blood work, the labs came back. I don't have any inflammatory markers in my blood. As far as my blood work is concerned, there is no sign whatsoever of Crohn's disease. And yet he sticks a camera up my butt and he sees Crohn's disease. All of the damage done by it. He asked me, have you made any changes in your diet? I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah, I'm eating way more spicy food now. And he's like, that's not, no, that's not. I'm asking, have you made any good changes to your diet? I was like, I mean, I'm eating more salad and I'm working out more, but no. And he was like, this makes no sense. And I was like, I can tell you this, since I started CPAP, I don't have acid reflux anymore. And he was like, what? That's not a thing. And I'm like, no, it's totally a thing. I started CPAP, cured my acid reflux. So he did some research and he found a paper, some research that seems to indicate that sleep apnea is, according to somebody, I don't know, it should be categorized as a chronic inflammatory disease, causes systemic inflammation, causes all of the inflammatory markers that were present in my blood a year ago and 6 months ago, but they're not now. We haven't figured it all out yet. He wants me to see a specialist in Birmingham. He wants me to have another colonoscopy. There's so much more blood work to do. But for the time being, the working hypothesis is all of this damage done to my gastrointestinal tract, all of these Crohn's disease-like symptoms, is malformation of my ileocecal valve, which, by the way, that's the valve that connects your small intestine to your large intestine. A healthy one should look like this, and mine looks like that. But now I don't have the inflammation in my blood to explain why. And the working hypothesis is, instead of going on Humira or some other biologic, he just wants me to stay on CPAP for the time being.
Well, obviously.
Because that seems to have fixed the problem. So it's kind of weird in a way, this weird circular way that life works. I found out, well, it was confirmed I was diagnosed with severe sleep apnea because my butt tried to kill me. And now it seems like the treatment for sleep apnea might have fixed my butt. The body's mysterious, man. Anyway, until next time, thanks for joining me.